Irish Oven Maniacs. You're listening to Vacation Edition of the Shop Talk Show.
Yeah.
Audio listeners will notice in my voice how chill and relaxed I am.
Yeah.
People on the YouTubes will see this awesome backdrop, the green screen backdrop.
Yeah.
Some trees
Well,
and
you do
some
seem
seagulls.
chill, A little slower gait too. That's the California way, though. You gotta
Yeah,
be
yeah,
slower. So if you listen at 1.5x, maybe 1.75 this one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Bump it up just a bit this week. I do have airplanes flying overhead. Can't control that. I do have seagulls. I do have boats. I do have cars.
Hmm.
Can't control that. So that's where we're at this week. So doing our
Someone
best.
might even walk by smoking marijuana. You can't control
That
that.
is about, in my experience, that's 90% of the California experience. It's just the waft of marijuana smoke, just
Yeah,
constant.
I always
So,
liked the term California sober, It means
oh,
you don't drink, but you smoke weed. It's fine.
it's a different bar here. Different.
Indeed.
Well, Christopher, you've been on vacation as well, so we're kind of probably coming back with very little web context. But what's happening in internet's
I don't know
websites?
what's happening
So,
on the web. I'm really focused on the CodePen private beta because we're just really cooking there. We're coming up on closing all these tickets. It was like unestimatable years ago when we were kicking around with this. We had all these ideas and whiteboards, and it just felt like insanity. And now, some of the big projects took so long to knock over that, we tried to estimate it and stuff, but the estimates were such a joke that it was like nobody even cared. It was laughable. But at this
yeah.
point, we're really getting down to the end, and it's kind of energized the team, and you're watching tickets fall even faster, and we're inviting more and more people into it, and it just feels really good. It was a really cool thing that we shipped that we didn't even slate this one for public release, and we try to be careful about that because it's like you can get sidetracked on a little journey, and they're like, I don't know, I thought we decided we didn't need this for release, but there's a how do I frame this? NPM, that's how I'll frame it.
Hmm.
Front end development needs packages. I wouldn't say needs, but it's common to yank something off NPM to use. Um, and even if it's not NPM, it's like you need it from somewhere. Like, let's say you're going to use Vue. Where are you going to get it? Where are you going to get that
Right.
copy of Vue? Well, there's lots of different ways to get it. And CodePen's unique. We've never really had like a use whatever you want from npm, we'll pull it down for you and make it available, that kind of thing. And partially is because we've gotten away with it in a sense, in
Yeah,
that
if you don't have to build it, don't. Like as a
yeah.
product, that's all, like only debt, or it's only you're a small team. Can't just build everything and
Right. And we've
own it
made that
immediately.
mistake before, so we try to be careful about that. But sort of what I was referring to here is like there's been a bunch of like CDNs and stuff that
Hmm.
support stuff from NPM. Even before NPM was dominant, there was like CDN.js was a big
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
And they hosted your library for you, and it wasn't even NPM. It was just like their own. I hesitant to call it a registry because I think the way that you'd get registered was like you did a PR against their repo and like put your
yeah.
library in there. It was like
Interesting. Yeah.
pretty weird. I'm sure it's different now, and I think they support npm now too. And then there was
Hmm.
that Bower for a minute was attempted to be like the front end version of
Package framework,
npm.
and
It's
then
been a
there's.
weird world, but there's always been some way to get a URL to the thing that you wanted without
Hmm.
us having to host it at CodePen. There was some
Yeah.
way. And there would even be ways of like searching for those things too. So that became very common and popular on CodePen, is to open up your like what we called external resources in the old editor. And you just type in jQuery and it would be like, here's one, and you just grab it, and now you have a URL to jQuery. And if you put it in external resources, we'd put the script for you in the pen and stuff. It ended up being like a pretty decent UX for it, and not many people had terrible problems with it. And you're like, yeah, okay, fine.
Mhm.
And now we still kind of offer that. The current experience on CodePen is, but ESM changed some of this stuff. Like import statements in JavaScript. A lot of examples you'll see, and by a lot I mean all, for example, of examples of like, how do you use this library. If you find the docs, it'll probably start with you npm install it, or yarn or pnpm or whatever, and then you can type import thing from thing, and that last thing, just thing in quotes, is what they call a bare module specifier or bare module name, which to some degree meant, like you're using a bundler, and that bundler is going to go look for that thing in your node modules folder. That's what it meant. And
Yeah,
then
it's almost like the import statement already knew where to look. Like,
Yep.
there's no file structure. It just knows to whatever cd to the next node modules and then
It
start.
does, and it will look all the hell over for it. Node has a thing called node module resolution, and it will scour to try to find that thing for you.
Yeah.
That's just how it worked. But that's Node. That's not the browser. It was kind of meaningless to the browser. That changed when import maps came along, and they also deal in bare module names. So if you say import thing from thing, if you have an import map in your HTML, you can say, hey, where I wrote thing, that actually maps to something else. And it could map to a file on your file system, and you tell it exactly where that file is, or it could be a URL to where that file is. Pretty cool. And that was nice because it's like, let's say you wrote, I don't know, import React from React in 900 files on your project, and you weren't using a build process, which I get is quite rare, but times change. And here at this show, we're always pushing for a less build process interference type of thing. You'd write that 900 times, but at the end of the, so you write import React from, and then you have like a whole URL in there. That sucks, because then you got to change it 900 times when you ever change where that's imported from, or change the version or something. It's not really tenable. So the web platform's answer to that was import maps. Just put the URL where you're going to get it once, and we'll map all 900 of them to the same place for you. Very nice, I think. So, okay, this is all just set up for me saying, okay, in the old editor, you type import React from React, our system would see it and be like, hey, we actually don't support that, but we'll happily swap that import statement out for import React from, and then http://esm.sh/react, which just happens to be one of these CDNs that would support React for you. And we're like, that's okay. That's a great project. It's super cool. It's amazing how well they've done with it, but it's still third party and all this. They actually just open source it and straight up say, go ahead and host this yourself. So we're going to do that at CodePen. We just got to, put it on the old to-do list and get through it. But in their docs that are even like, this project is pretty sweet for import maps too. They almost kind of push you towards that solution as well. So Alex, in his like, we're rounding the bend glory here, gets a bee in his bonnet to like incorporate this into the new editor on CodePen. So we don't want to detect import React from React or view from view or thing from thing or whatever, or what I'm referring to. So what our new system is, we call the thing CP compiler internally. We're just going to call it the CodePen compiler. It's very sophisticated piece of thing that looks at your pen and figures out what you're trying to do and makes all these choices and comes up with a build plan and all this stuff. One more job that it's going to have now is that it finds bare module specifiers or bare module names, and it sees, oh, I see React is sitting right there. What it's going to do then is be like, okay, I'm going to look up what the latest version of React is, and I'm going to make a package.json file that lists that as a dependency in the package.json file. Make sure that your pen has that'll scaffold it sitting there. So it's a valid package.json sitting there. And then when we build out your pen for the preview, any HTML file, we're going to make an import map out of the package.json and inject the import map into all HTML files. Now, there's little edge cases, like if you already have an import map, we'll respect yours and we'll merge them together, honoring yours and all this type of thing. But now you can just type whatever, import view from view. Instantly, you're going to get a package.json with the latest version of view in it, which works when you export the pen then. So you have this, you could always npm install if you export it, and it will work how you expect it to work. But our system will work with import maps, and in that import map, as today as I speak, it links Vue to the esm.sh version of Vue. So it's very impressive to see work. I should almost show you out of this.
Yeah,
You just type all these import statements like you're just using npm, and it doesn't have to install anything. They just instantly start working. It's very
yeah,
satisfying.
that's kind of cool. You're right in that it's been like a big long history. There was like CDNJS, which was okay. I forget who like
It was
ran it, like
especially
Akamai
okay
or
when
something.
there was like this weird period in web development. Yeah, who was it? Yeah, it was some kind of
Huh.
CDN product or
But
cloud
then
product. It
Michael
used to be
Jackson.
cached. That was
Oh
the big
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
People were like, "Why don't you got to use jQuery because the user won't have to download anything."
right.
And then the web changed, and that's no longer the case. Like resources can't be cached like that between origins or whatever.
Yeah.
So the
Um,
reason became less useful. Yeah, and then Michael Jackson's thing. What is his thing again? It's unpackaged.
unpackaged. But that
Probably
was
the most
actually
popular of all of them,
that
I'd say.
that was the most popular. But that was also like a require based thing. So it you had to like do like col or question mark module or something to make it do
Right.
modules at a certain,
And I
like it
think
was the
he
pre-era.
I don't want to speak for him, but I think that was the end, and I don't think it works that great. The question mark module thing is not
It was kind of,
super duper
yeah.
stable.
And then there was Skypack. There
Yeah,
was
they kind of publicly said we're not doing
we're
Skypack anymore.
done.
You're right. That was cool. That was
Yes,
pre
and
Astro. That was the Fred and the Astro gang did Skypack.
yeah, and then esm.sh is great. I don't know. It just seems like it.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
it's the
if I
last
just
evolution in it for now.
what's cool about it is if I just want to play with a module, like I don't know, Vue or the new, I don't know, latest Vue 3.6 or something that's coming out or just came out.
Yeah.
I could like play with it before I spin up a big project and do all that stuff. I can just like import this and just kind of see what try a thing with it. And so I think that's cool if CodePen kind of adopts that. There's also this other angle that Vue does, which is the what oh shoot I forgot, auto imports. You know what I mean? Like where you don't even type import Vue from Vue, you just assume Vue exists on the component, or if you're like
Hmm.
referencing other components, you say like you in Vue you used to have to be like import whatever drop down bar or whatever and
Yeah.
do all these like literal imports, very specific. But now Vue can kind of their can kind of auto infer what imports you are trying to do.
Oh, really?
Nuxt does this for sure. So maybe it's a Nuxt tech piece of Nuxt tech. But
Oh, I like that.
anyway,
Anything little thing like that that's like a little bit magical but really makes the thing nice. I mean, this is so silly, but in Next, you don't have to type import React from React at the top of your files because it's so obviously a React project. It's just like one line of code that you don't need, and you're like, that's just nice.
well, and
Thanks.
wasn't it Babel also kind of supported that, right? Like they were in script, I think, just kind of will auto inject that if they detect it or
Mm-hmm.
assume that.
Mm-hmm.
We had the show with Redwood JS, a what Pierre Pistorius,
Mm-hmm.
a while back, and I think Alex Reverie gave us some feedback or was miffed in the Discord. Was just saying kind of like he likes magic, like he loves it when like Vue does auto imports and stuff like that. And I think he has a good point, and I think like zero magic is maybe just marketing speak, but um, I think what's interesting about like auto imports or something it's like that is you know, I'm actually at an age where I actually really do like this specifying the imports. Like you're saying, no, this thing depends on this thing. Like, you're kind of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
doing accounting. It's like balancing your checkbook at the top of the file, You're saying, I'm importing all this crap. But I will say when it comes to magic, I do think like when you understand the magic, it's fine. Does that make sense? Like it's looking for things I'm using that aren't in the file, and it's auto importing, and that
Yeah.
seems
Fair enough.
fair, right? Like
Right.
that seems like I know what's going on in my head. I can make that leap, that mental leap. But when it's like 10 Rube Goldberg machines later, and that's where I'm
Right.
like, ooh,
Well,
that
in a
magic
way,
is
it's the
maybe less
point of
magic,
using
you
the
know?
framework. If the framework
Yeah,
didn't do anything like that for you, then what's the point? Then don't use it. Like, I'm
yeah,
using the framework
yeah,
to do stuff for me.
yeah, yeah. I want them. That's why magic frameworks are for magic, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Frameworks are for magic? Oh, it's like a shirt.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. You know, there is a little possible confusion. Here's one magic is we shipped this with it too, just because we're trying to, you know, the point of CodePen is to be a little opinionated about certain things like this and be helpful while trying to allow for configurability and all this stuff. But here's a
Hmm.
little one. And in the reaction in the chat as I was showing this off on a stream was a little mixed and like surprisingly
Oh,
anti magic. This is the smallest little thing in the world, Dave. You type import view from view in your script file, and we can, because we have all this knowledge about how your project is linked up, we know that, oh, look at your index.html file is the thing that linked up that piece of JavaScript, and you forgot type equals module on it, and it's not going to work if you don't put type equals module in the ESM world. So we just put it in. We just
mhm.
put it in for you, and we don't put it in like in the built output only. We put it in your authored code. Just
Oh,
put it,
you just kind
just
of
fix
slurp
it
it
for
in.
you.
Yeah,
So you can just forget and it doesn't matter because like it cannot work without that. It's like there's no
yeah,
world. But if you wrote like type equals Dave on it, we're not going to mess with that. We're not like trying to ruin your life here. It's just if you just didn't put anything at all, we just kind of fix it. And,
oh,
and there's people that was like, you should like put up an alert or you know like a dialogue of something that says that or a diagnostic. I mean, there's possibility changes here, but I was surprised at how opinionated people were on that version of magic. But it's like a weird kind of magic because it's like we show you what we did. It's you know
yeah, yeah. It's like don't touch my code, even when it won't work. You know, it's
right.
like you're
Alex
like,
is pretty big on this, and I like it too. It's like just make it work. That might be a reason that you use CodePen at all is because things tend to work there,
yeah,
and
yeah.
like that can be satisfying for people.
I mean, I'll be honest. I get tripped up on that kind of on the regular. You know, if I'm just like coding in a file and I'm like, why is it? Why do you
Yeah.
don't work? And they're like, yeah, it's module is not a module, and, or whatever the error is, and I'm like,
Dumb.
oh, okay, I have to do more. You know. Um,
Right. Right.
but you
Right.
know, and again, you're probably targeting learners and people like that, where it's not clear. You know, yeah, like that's hard for people to really
Yeah.
understand, or like they're not at the reading the console errors phase of of
Right.
development to fix the issue themselves.
And
So it
from
just appears
our
broken.
level, at a platform level, we can surface errors like that. Like if you have a client-side JavaScript error, like something that throws, and I think this is in that category, we can listen for that, and then we put it in our console well, and we show you a little red X and stuff. So we can kind of help you discover that a little bit, but not super great. It's not amazing, and it's different between different browsers and stuff. It's not as like consistent as you'd like it to be. So just fixing it is the way here. And there's certain console errors that are not accessible kind of from the parent page. For example, if you link up like you'd have a typo in your CSS file and you have a link tag that links to it. In
Hmm.
DevTools, there's some kind of error somewhere. You know, you'll be like, oh, your web page tried to request a file that 404 it or something. You can't know that from the parent page. There's no API that's like, did any of these requests 404? You know, not really.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's the kind of thing that'd be cool for us to fix or let you know about, because we can know, because we'll if you're linking locally, we'll be like, is the file there? We can just check, and then we can return a diagnostic that's like, look, you're linking to a file that doesn't actually exist here. So here's a proper warning that puts squigglies on the line of the exactly right file and that type of thing. Kind of cool,
yeah.
cool
No,
stuff. Here's a hard one is like some people are like, oh, npm support, cool, I want to use Nuxt or something, where you're like, well, it's hard to educate you on. You're like, Nuxt is node, And
Yeah.
this is like
Yeah.
browser npm. So like that's not quite going to work. Well, we want to and probably will support Nuxt, and that's what the CodePen editor calls a block. And a block is
Hmm.
like our little pieces of processing code that are often in Node but don't have to be. There's things that process code. So that distinction is going to require some education and can be a little
Yeah.
tricky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Because people don't always know, like, oh, I'm operating on a backend service or a server service or just a website surface. So,
Yeah, like
uh,
what's the JavaScript runtime at play is just
yeah,
it's tricky to know,
different
especially for beginners.
features when you don't
Yeah.
have process.env and on the front end, that's
Yeah,
just
and like
kills
a
me every time. But then, the new trick, I guess, is to use like import meta or something, but that
oh
API kills me or something. But anyway, but that
well.
API just really, yeah, bothers me. You know what else gets me? You probably run into this a lot. Uh,
Hmm.
when you're in console, web inspector, right?
Yes. Yep.
And you say query selector all video playback rate, query selector video playback rate equals 2, right? And you're like trying to make
Okay.
it
Yep.
go fast, right? And then it's like there's no videos on the page, but you're like looking at a video on the page. And so what you have to do is go from top down to the iframe in question and then run the command again. You know what I mean? Where you
Oh,
have
because
to,
YouTube videos are iframes. So you have to
yeah,
get the
so
context right in the console.
right.
Yeah.
So you have to set the context right. I, I'm dealing a lot with like Storybook and things like that, like just weird,
Hmm.
like I have to like debug or whatever. That's our, like, I think Brad Frost calls it a workshop environment. But, um, so I'm just like, but then I have to go manually click and then do this. So I just wish there was some sort of like, shortcut in DevTools for getting to the actual context I actually care about. Because usually there's like a list of 10 files and then the iframe layer I care about. So I wish it was like I could just be like command 2 or zoom in or, or command
Right.
plus or something and
I was
just keep,
always hoping there'd be a parent page API that could set the context of the DevTools, but there's not a lot of like parent to DevTools communication that they
right.
expose, probably for good reason.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, that's tricky. That's one of the reasons we justify having a console in the CodePen
In
editor, the
CodePen.
one that you open,
Yeah,
because then the context is always right.
yeah. Yeah, because CodePen's context, I have to zoom in or whatever, drill down in CodePen, I have to drill down in Storybook, I have to drill down,
Yeah.
sometimes video sites, news sites that whatever have their video 10 iframes deep or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of
Our
like,
CodePen embeds are doubled.
oh, nice.
Well, because the preview of the embed itself is an iframe, and then the
Oh
preview
yeah,
inside it is an iframe as well.
the
So,
rendered page is the iframe as well. Wow, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. It's that thing where it's just like, oh man, I just wish there was like just an easier, I don't know, way to drill down in DevTools. So maybe
Hmm.
I guess I know people who work, so maybe I can just reach out to them, but or just send up the old Paul Irish bat flag, uh,
Yeah.
bat sign.
It might be a fun one because there seems to be more and more appetite for like legacy problems or something. Like I
Yeah,
don't want something new. I want to fix something that's been a problem for a long time, and
no,
so do it.
and I'm
Yeah.
very like whatever. I'm trying to save a click from a whatever for a very, I don't know, in the grand scheme of problems, it's very niche to need to get into an iframe to execute a console script, but
Uh-huh.
I find myself there all the time, and I wish it existed.
Well, speaking of Mr. Brad Frost, him and his brother Ian Frost have a course, designtokenscourse.com. Remember, the coupon code for it is Shop Talk is awesome, which is 20% off the course, which I'm so hot on. I think y'all should go out and buy this course because it's teaching you things that you might think you know about building a design system. If you're like me, you feel like, oh, design system, sure. And then you just wing it. You're like, oh, we'll just put our tokens over here. We'll put our components over here and wipes hands together. Cool, we did it. You're going to do so many mistakes, and they're painful mistakes because if you build your whole design system, you get really deep into it full of mistakes, it's going to be super hard to back out of. You were trying to do yourself a solid, and you didn't do yourself a solid. You made too many mistakes, and it's just as hard to back out of or harder than anything else. So watching a course like this from Brad and Ian, who have done it over and over and over and over and made those mistakes and can show you, like, here's how to not make that mistake. Here's how you can make a good design system at first is huge. So designtokenscourse.com. Now, there's one more point I want to make about this is that sometimes you use a design system to make things consistent. The point is, this is a mess. We're going to make a design system to unmessify it. That can be awesome and a very good reason to make a design system. Perhaps the number one reason to do it. But Brad has this other thing too, where yes, you're doing that. Yes, you're cleaning up a mess. But the criticism against that is things can be too the same. They can be boring, like sure, a design system is great for like the interface of YouTube or something where they have all this crap that needs to look good, but it could be a problem for like my university website or something because it's too boring, that the science page just looks exactly like the page for humanities studies or something like that, and it's like those are totally different departments and should have a different look and feel or something, or a more classic one like a news outlet where the sports website should be super duper different than the cars website, which is totally different than the, I don't know, women's fashion website or something. But they're all under the same brand and they're under the same people that need to take care of those brands. So we want those people need it to not be a mess for them to work with. That's what a design token system, like they talk about in designtokenscourse.com, can be all about. If you do this system well, you can have super different looking websites, and all you're changing is the design tokens, is this simple layout of just think of like 100, possibly even less design tokens that you're changing and getting a ton of different aesthetic value out of those. But there's a catch, only if you do it right. So check out designtokenscourse.com for that. Shop Talk is awesome for 20% off. Thanks, guys. Cool. Now I forgot where we were. We were talking about interesting stuff, but it was a good segue to something.
It was good. I was talking about DevTools, and then we talked, but
yeah. Well, here's DevTools. I feel like sometimes I'm like this big WebKit Safari fanboy because they've been doing a lot of good stuff lately. I generally like Apple as a company and use a zillion of their products, and I've always wanted to like Safari. But I just from an honest like user perspective, I just don't really like it. There's all kinds of little stuff I don't like about its interface and the, its support of web component stuff and all kinds of other support that it feels like it's been dragging its feet on, but it's been accelerating. It's been doing better. Like it's not like I'm a Safari disliker, but I'm like, if I have to pick, I'd prefer a Chromium engine because my life just seems to cruise a little smoother in Chromium mode, and I prefer it, right? And that's one of the reasons I liked Arc. It was this really fancy browser and it used Chromium or whatever. Not to make this the Arc show because I have a bad habit of doing that. But I've now wiped my hands of Arc. Like, I'll try Dia when they get around to making it better. Dia did just recently say they're going to have vertical tabs, but I checked it out and it's like a very neutered version of vertical tabs. So it was a weird choice. Like, it doesn't have workspaces, it doesn't have folders, it doesn't have pinned things. It's like, why'd you even do it? Yeah. So I've been looking around for my Arc replacement. I used Orion for a while, but it had a couple of bugs in it that I could not get past, and I had to bail on Orion. But I liked it. But it was Safari. It was WebKit under the hood, and that was a bummer anyway. But then I was like, maybe I'll just use Chrome. I bet Chrome has so many extensions. There's extensions for days in Chrome. Surely there must be some good sidebar extensions. Well, there is, and there's actually like a new-ish API in web extensions land that's like, this extension should be a sidebar thing. Like there's like a new-ish sidebar API for extensions. And there's some new extensions in Chrome land that take advantage of that to just do vertical tabs. And I tried a few of them. None of them were amazing to me, but some of them were like pretty nicely polished, and I went for it for a while. But it's like, yeah, you really learn that like little tiny changes in what your expectation is for how something works can be obnoxious. The way one of them I tried worked was like, it really wanted everything to be a permanent tab. It was side tabs, but they were meant to be just like there forever until you like very explicitly deleted them out of there. And I'm like, tabs are more like ephemeral than that. And that's why I liked, one of the reasons I liked Arc is it had this real tier system of like, when you pin a tab, not only is it pinned, it's up there forever, it's up there in all your workspaces, but it like kept them hot somehow. It like kept those pages real hot when you clicked on them. Then there was like the second tier of synced workspace permanent tabs, and I like those because you could Command W and close them, but they wouldn't really close. They'd just kind of wipe themselves clean.
It's like active bookmarks or something. It felt like, oh, I'm going to use this every day when I'm in this mode, so just keep this fresh.
Don't those. Then the ones below those were like a little bit more ephemeral. They're just like a regular old tab that you have open, and they would even get cleaned up. You know, they were subject to Arc's cleanup thing. I always turned that off because I didn't like that, but some people really loved that. And then there was even Little Arc, which is super ephemeral tabs, just tiny. I mean, the size of them was dependent on how big you wanted them to be, but they're just like, you clicked a link somewhere, you're just looking at it quick, and then you just close it real quick. So it had like 4 levels of like how tabs are treated, and I've yet to see that in any other browser. It's pretty sweet.
Well, and you know, even if you set up something as side by side, it would like reflect that in the tab UI. I mean, that was
totally
cool. Like,
it was cool. Yeah. So side by side is great. That's another requirement that I have. I've learned how to launch Google Chrome Canary has a feature flag for side-by-side tabs. So that was, while I was using this sidebar extension, I also turned that on, and I installed a thing that made Command-Shift-C work to copy the links, and I was like, maybe I can just use Chrome. Maybe I'm like back on Chrome, or at least Canary. It was okay. It's just none of the sidebar tabs were like quite good enough. So I was like, ugh. So now I'm like about a week into this new one, Dave, called Sigma OS.
Okay.
It's another browser, and it's probably, after a week or so usage, as close to, and in some cases that has a few features that I like even better than Arc. So I'm pretty hot on it as a nice little browser alternative thing. But it has some downsides too. I don't absolutely know. It's like my ride and die browser because in some cases it's a little slow, unfortunately for me, and it's a big plus for other people. It's WebKit, and I got whole talking about this because you mentioned DevTools. Man, the WebKit DevTools. It's not like they're unusable, but I find them pretty rough. Really weird little bugs and stuff, and just
nah. It's a stopper for me. You know.
Yeah.
Firefox is I can live with, but the I don't know. I know people from WebKit listening to stuff, so I should be careful. But it's just
good. Make it better then, jeepers.
Make it better, please. It's just it has like just so much. It's like the iOS team got a hold of it and said, we're in charge, of this, and because it looks exactly or has vibes of like Xcode, which is probably like great for platform consistency internally in Apple, but like, I don't know, man. Like your adjacency is not Xcode developers. Your adjacency is WebKit developer, or web tools, web inspector, DevTools developers. So like, I think it would be cool to theme it, so change it a bit. So.
Yeah, I would go heavy on design in there and get that really smoking clean somehow.
I haven't seen this Sigma OS though. It's interesting. So you just kind of has these idea of like different spaces, so you operate in different spaces,
Got the
right? And
spaces. I
then
like the spaces and vertical tabs. Got to have it.
vertical
And
tabs.
really robust keyboard shortcut. They have this very strong opinions on their style of keyboard shortcuts, which I turn off. Maybe I would like it eventually, but I just kind of stuck with it. But even when you stick with the kind of classic tab, like, I don't know, Command N is like new workspace for them instead of new window or something, and you're like, oh, that's
Okay.
weird. But and then that's even the old style. They just want you to press like W. Like they have tons of keyboard shortcuts that have no modifier, and I'm like, I do way too much like writing and coding in the browser to have no command key modifiers. Like it's not gonna work for me. But anyway, the workspaces are nice, and then they have these like locked tabs versus not locked tabs, which at least gives me like 2 tiers of tabs. It's not the 4 that I want, but they do also have like a little arc like feature. So it's kind of like three levels of tabs. Pretty good. Browser extensions work in there. So even like the ones that they're like Chrome ones work in there, even though it's WebKit. So wrap your mind around that. That was probably a little engineering effort it took
Yeah,
to
I
do
was
that.
just looking at that because it's, I know it's the same code, there's a standard,
Yeah.
but I know Safari kind of went like slightly different angle where you needed it all signed through the App Store. But,
Oh,
maybe
right.
that was more like maybe that was more of a user experience decision than
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
must-have decision.
Possibly, or like ease of install or something. But as we know, I don't think they're doing very well on their extensions. It's like nobody's like, oh, who has killer extensions? Safari. That's not
Well,
something people
but
say.
I don't know, man. Even Chrome extensions, though. When was the last bang? You're just like, dude, yeah, like it just,
Yeah, no, you're right. There isn't, but
yeah,
but there is some real classics though. Is the thing? It's like whatever your password manager is, LastPass or whatever. I'm a 1Password. I'm just deep into that land, so I need it. And it works
yeah, one
great in
password, yeah,
Sigma, so ship it. And then there's the content blockers, which they tend to be they're more landscape is a little thicker of them in Chrome land than Safari, I'd think. And then the crypto bros have their wallets and all that stuff, and so there's some the ones that really matter. Maybe it's like maybe there's no bangers, but the ones that really matter to people really matter to people.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Not
I'm
to
just
mention all the
looking.
DevTools ones, like we need our Apollo one and our React one and all that.
Yeah,
And
the Vue DevTools one was awesome. Yeah, I have a few. I just moved off Arc back to Edge, so I have a lot of weird ones on this website, like
yeah.
from the last show.
Oh my god, I'm
But
so obsessed with.
anyway, yeah, there's just there's a couple few ones, but yeah, but I still feel like I don't have like the one, other than 1Password. There's no like, dude, you got to do this. It makes websites so much better, or it makes so
Yeah.
yeah,
So they're like split view in the Sigma. Just to round this out, is that's the thing that I almost like better than Arc. It almost, like, I don't know, Arc. It's hard to say that because I really liked how you could just option click whatever in Arc and it would just split it like that. This doesn't
yeah,
have that, but it feels like it's a butt hair away from having it, or maybe there's a way to do it that I'm just not seeing. But their sidebar is like all different stuff. Like you have one sidebar or that behaves as splits, so that's where your split can go for a thing. But it's also other stuff. It's like where extensions behave, and it's where, I don't know, there's various other crap in the sidebar, but mostly you'd use it for splits,
yeah,
And what I liked about it is that's different than how Arc did it, is that your split page is just over there, almost like its own little browser or something. Like as you switch the page on the left, the right where your sidebar is, if you want it over there, is always the same. So it's kind of like, it's kind of nice. And in a way, what I can do in there is like I can put Notion over there, and then it's just always over there. So whatever tab I'm on, if I need to pop over to Notion, I just open the sidebar and there's my Notion, and then I close it. So it's like this like permanent notes area, like
Yeah. Yeah.
whereas if I had to split Notion and Arc, it's like I'm splitting it with one choice of one site. It's
Hmm.
not this like permanent split. So I thought, oh man, this is the one thing that actually like I feel like maybe is actually useful to my life and better. We'll see if
Hmm.
I can stick with it. It's WebKit, and that's perhaps the worst part. There's so many little bugs and crap I see as I browse around the web in WebKit that make me like die.
Well, it'd be good. Yeah, you could raise awareness. So don't forget about WebKit. So
Well, right, that's
probably a
totally a
good thing
thing.
for the web to have more browsers, like for
And
just
people using them for real,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I know what you mean.
So
Yeah, a little slow too. I do feel like there's this opinion that people have despite not necessarily testing it for themselves or knowing the super real truth, is that there's this theory that if you use Safari or WebKit or whatever, it's the most efficient for your battery life. And I
yeah.
know this only matters to Mac people because there is no Windows WebKit. I don't think, right? No Windows WebKit.
No. Well, I get there are projects on it, but I don't think it's like officially supported, or
Right.
it's
So
like
sorry.
Dolphin
This is my
browser or
point. Is
something. Yeah.
Oh, okay. There's some sort of kind of way to do it.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's I have read this blog post, and there's this repo that does it where the testing methodology seems quite sound to me. It's like you take this script and you run it, and it simulates browsing behavior for whatever browser, and it's like it watches YouTube videos and it goes to GitHub and it browses around, and it does all these tasks of something that like a regular person like us would do. And then the dude left it on running this simulation basically for days until the computer died, essentially. How much battery life do you get out of like regular browser usage? And it's like I can't imagine a better test than that,
Hmm.
for actual battery usage. And that's all the computer was doing, was just using the browser and doing all kinds of different tasks in the browser. And Chrome was the winner, like by a decent margin. It wasn't Safari. There's like this theory that's you got to use Safari because it's the most gentle on your battery, and it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, then prove it, because if you try to
Show
test
the
it, it's
data.
not true. So
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Well, browsers. They are smart pieces of software. I mean, literally, probably millions and millions of lines of code, up almost to billions, and
Mhm.
just to handle everything we want to see and interact with in a split second, under in a millisecond. Uh,
Yeah,
so they try to be as efficient as possible at every single corner, and it's pretty incredible. But it's just you don't always understand that when you're just using it. You're just like, I want my website to work, you know. So
it's fun.
when
It
you
makes me feel like I
encounter
picked
a
a good
slow
career.
website, when you encounter a slow website, that's actually a really big tell that somebody messed up super big because they're using way too much computer to make that happen. So yeah,
Yeah, considering how good web browsers are at making websites fast,
yeah,
you done bad if you manage to make this thing slow.
yeah. If it takes whatever 30 minutes to load a Burger King website, you did really bad. So careful, back it up. So,
Back it up, yo. Well, what else you got going on, man? What's on your mind?
one thing I've been kind of like thinking about is just this idea of, I think in teams, like in larger organizations, people feel like engineering is like just you go engineer it, and I've had that like in my consulting, I've had it in my current job, but just like, oh, engineers will just go build it,
Hmm.
and it's what's been interesting, or just like that's not the case. I hate to dispel the myth or like cost anyone their job, but engineering is not like a magical process. It is just a very linear process to like a predefined, even like you break up the task, you work on the small chunk and you work through the end, and then you cause a ruckus if something goes wrong on that path, like It's just a linear process through a predefined set of requirements. It must do X, Y, Z, and A, B, C, and that's it. That's the job. I mean, and I hate to make it unexciting because it does a little bit for me, but we're not, in very few circumstances are we just like, oh, I'm inventing tech. It's like, no, I'm getting a list of posts from a database to put it out, and as a list of HTML to put it out. It's just this very
Oh, you
linear.
think is that I don't know. I don't want to call it a concern, but maybe it is that people think of every piece of engineering effort is basically like genius magic or something.
Sort of, or just like, oh, they just disappear and they work on stuff and they come back and they're grumpy and then they,
Mhm.
say it's done or not done, or but it's just a, if you want something done, you just make sure you write it down. Like it has to do X, Y, Z, or like it's. I was thinking about like one client I had. I think I've told this story before. It was like a life coach company, kind of like one of the later projects, and at Paravel. And I was like into it because it was like the vibes were good, right? Like, just very positive people, like read a lot of the same like airport books I do, like
Mhm.
it was, working for a life coach company, they're very positive people, but and we'd like set up a plan and we'd start executing the plan, and then they'd like wake up and be like, hey, I was like journaling this morning and I came up with the new website, or like, oh, we want it Apple Tesla, or so, like they come up with like, new
Okay.
vibes every morning, right? And, or
A
what, like
little
well,
Mythic Quest, giving me Mythic Quest
little
vibes
Mythic
there.
Quips vibes, totally. Yeah, if you've watched that show on Apple TV, it's my favorite. It's one of my favorites. It's not a great show, but it's really good. But it takes a while to get into it. But yeah, it's just kind of like, very like inspiration driven, which I guess I'm into whimsy too. Like, let's be whimsical. Let's like, kind of come up with ideas. But, it's like, it's really though, it's just like, what needs to be done? Then let's get it all out on paper and then we'll decide, does this really need to be done? And then we'll build it, So that's, and I know there's not all, whatever Donald Rumsfeld style known unknowns and things like that, like that we can't control. And, but, you can actually draw like a little box. Like, I think once we get here, we're going to not know what's up, so it's not like,
Mm.
I don't know, there's, it's like you can kind of pre plan those sort of scenarios as well. It's not always like, oh my gosh, what a surprise. There's no, API to whatever. What a surprise that the AI's feedback is really non-deterministic. Like it changes its answer very frequently. Like that's what it does. So but
Yeah,
you
that's
could
true.
draw.
That's some senior dev stuff that it almost takes to know that. I mean, maybe it shouldn't be or doesn't need to be, but it does seem like that's a superpower of a senior dev is to be like, I know we can do this. I know we can do this. This site, 87% know we can do this. And this is going to be like, we absolutely will not know until we are further along in this process or whatever.
Yeah,
User feedback is definitely going to throw a wrench in this, or has the potential of throwing a wrench here because we have no idea what people are going to say, like
yeah,
we have, some of that stuff at CodePen that's why we have a private beta. That's the whole reason that we're doing this right now is now people are in there and they're using stuff and they're finding little things that there's no way we could have found otherwise. And we knew that. So we have the private beta to find out those things.
mhm,
One fellow was writing shaders, shaders, a cool web
yeah,
technology thing. Sometimes they use a .frag file. I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you exactly how
yeah,
they slot into the world, but they're XML based and they return a content type of XML. And we had some like a bug in our code. One of the things that we need to do on the fly when we're showing you the preview is inject a script into it that we don't do when you deploy the site or when you're looking at it, totally independently. But when it's inside the editor, we inject a little script in there, and that helps us do certain things, helps us prevent infinite loops through heartbeat technology. It's interesting. It helps power our console so it can communicate back and forth to the parent page of the console. It probably has 5 or 6 jobs, but we don't know how many HTML files the pen has anymore in the new editor. It's not just one like it used to be. It could be 50. So we just kind of need to figure out if we think we should inject that script or not when it's being served. And at the moment, it's kind of a Cloudflare HTML rewriter deal, which is pretty neat. It doesn't need to be. We can use different things for it, but for the Cloudflare worker fans out there, that's how it's working for now. And it was wrong. It would serve a frag file, and in the frag, because it was looked like HTML to it, it would inject our script, and it would screw up the guy's shader.
Wow.
How would you know that? Or it's just maybe that could have been foreseen and fixed, but it was just a little bug that's I don't even blame us at all for running into it. And then the fix was easy. We just needed to be a little more careful with the script injection, write some tests for it, and good to go, But that was a little bit of known unknown.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's you knew people would be doing stuff you didn't expect.
Couldn't foresee, right?
Foresee, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is wild. It's just like XML layered. Yeah. And it looks like HTML. It's got script tags. That's terrible. Or just that it looks like HTML. Yeah. So, yeah, no, that'd be hard to do. So, yeah, no, it's just, I think I think we get power in this mystification of what we do, oh, I do just disappear and come back with something, but I think it's, I do think we just need to demystify the process for designers and business people. It's not, it's,
it's just making omelets, it's just
it's making omelets. I'm a Waffle House chef, you just literally, slinging eggs, breaking eggs, and making them. So turn them into edible eggs. So yeah,
it's
the job over and over.
Is there more humidity in San Diego than Austin, Texas?
No, well, no. Weirdly, what I find Texas is just hot. Everything's hot. Literally, everywhere you go, hot. And my wife's from Phoenix. Phoenix is also hot. What I find interesting about Phoenix is you can smell concrete. You can it's so hot. You just it smells like hot concrete. When you get the cast iron too hot, that vibe, where it's just dude, what? Yeah. It's that's Phoenix. But here it's cool. It's 70 degrees, but when you're in the sun's like a laser on you. But that's how my face got all red. So
funny. So the elevation can do it too. Not that there's any in either of those two locations, but here in Bend we burn a little easier because of our extra mile closer to the sun or whatever it is.
Yeah. Can you think about that? If you're a mile closer to an explosion, that's bad.
Yeah.
If you're a mile closer to the sun, that's got to be worse.
Well, there's still some science there that I don't understand, because I used to laugh at this before I have, through experience, learned that it's actually a quite real phenomenon. But what made me question it is how many millions of miles the sun is away?
It's a 0.00.
Yeah, it's the tiniest change ever. I don't care if you're on a mountain, you could be, how does that matter? But I think it matters more just because it does. The last few miles matter more when it's in an atmosphere or something. I don't know. There's something to it.
Sun is a last mile technology. Is that your?
Yeah, possibly.
Photons, the last mile technology.
Yeah, I was thinking about last mile a little bit because I got fiber here at my new spot for the office, and it's nice and fast. And fiber's good because fiber is improving the last mile. When. If I send some internet information across the pipes to Australia, most of that journey is at the speed of light.
Yeah.
it's perfectly fast, and it gets slowed down when it has to go through too many routers, and it might be really slow, like from the street to your house, because the cable company put in some cheap crap or something. But then there's even more last mile, is like in your house, what did you do? Does it go through an ancient crappy Wi-Fi signal routery thing? And that's
Totally.
kind of
Yeah.
my case,
Yeah.
is that I'm just using the router for now that the cable company gave me, and I'm like, is that the bottleneck? And also it's like downstairs and I'm upstairs. I'm like, how much am I of this fiber juice am I losing in the last mile?
Yeah. I will go poor trying to figure out Wi-Fi. I think, I think that's like what
Yeah.
I, I do send a thing to my office, like a
Ethernet?
Ethernet out to my office. Yeah. And then, but we recently got because a tree knocked down our fiber. They came out and they fixed the fiber twice. But they recently got like all my whole in-home fiber system upgraded. It seems to have made a huge difference just on like the speed. But that box they give you, the like usually it's a
Mm.
box from the 1920s. It has like gears on the outside. Uh, that's you. They're like, we got you a router, and so you go buy another router to plug in that router. Well, this new router actually looks good, but the guy
Oh,
was
is it an
saying like,
Eero? I'm
it's
curious.
not, but it's like super. It's AT&T tech, but it's like super good. And he's like, oh yeah, it's got like Wi-Fi 7 and all that on it, or 6 or something.
Yeah.
And I was like,
They've
well,
gotten
shoot,
better, I think.
none of my
What
stuff
they
is
give you.
probably that, but if you have a device that's um, is Wi-Fi 802.11b, like one of the original specs or whatever,
Mm.
like the whole system will downgrade to support that device. So now I'm
Ooh.
looking at like every device in my house, like, are you the problem? Are you the problem? And I think it's my Nest thermostat, which I gotta
Oh my gosh.
notice that my thermostat is being discontinued. It will no
Yeah.
longer receive software updates. So anyway, I'm like, oh man,
Isn't
dude,
that sad? They make this thermostat that the whole world loves, and
yeah,
they're like, nah, we're not going to do that
we
anymore. It's
can't
like the
support
arc of
your old.
thermostats.
Oh my god, basically, yeah. So now I'm in the market for the dumbest thermostat ever. I'm trying to. I think 2025 is like eliminate lightning cables or non USB-C cables. I want them all out. I'm going to replace every piece of technology that uses
Okay.
non
Yeah.
USB-C. I think I got like 5 candidates, and then and like literally go through the Wi-Fi specs on every single device in my house and figure out which ones are tanking
Oh, that's a
our
genius
speed.
idea. I never even thought of that. And
Like,
unbelievable.
take inventory. We're getting new phones, baby. We're getting new thermostats.
Remember,
We're
you used
doing
to
it.
have like a modem and a router, and then they just now it's
Yeah,
just automatically combined now. But I almost prefer that. I'd like like a dedicated dumb modem that can be just really good, and then you get to replace the router on top of it and not worry that they're the same. Because the fact is, now that they gave me this Eero combined device thing, it's like I don't want to plug my own router into that because I feel like why it's our the Eero
it's
routers
already
are if
good. Yeah, it should be
yeah
good, right?
it should be
Yeah,
good, and like why I don't know. It feels like adding to the chain is worse because
yeah.
like now there'll be two Wi-Fi's blasting out of the same closet or whatever. Like, I don't know.
I
Everything's
wish I
hard.
understood that. I wish I could see radio waves. That would be in my next adventure. Maybe get some smart glasses to debug Wi-Fi. That's again, I'm going poor. This is how I lose all my
Yeah,
money, Chris. I'm going
yeah. I
to
don't
like,
know it much either. I had a good experience using the Google ones at one point, because they have the mesh stuff in, and one of the nice things about when you buy from a big company like that is then it works with their nice apps. Because the Google Home
mhm,
app is perfectly nice, and then you get that too, and then then your friend doesn't call you to reset the password or whatever because you told them to buy some router that has 19 little widget crappy things on
the
it.
like
Yeah.
claws, the crab, the
Yeah.
upside down crab. Yeah,
Yeah, like you could tell them that and it'd be like, oh, just go to your browser and go to 127.0.0.1 or whatever it is, and then
yeah,
you'll get this crappy web interface, and then you type in the default. So that's not going to work for most people. But you
yeah.
tell them to buy the Google routers. You're like, just install the Google Home app, and it'll recognize them, and you're good to go.
I set up my mother-in-law's Ring camera the other day. Whoa, that like,
Really?
dude, I get it. Like, I security, we got to make sure the person owns the phone, owns the house, that the screen
Yeah.
camera. Yeah, like I get it. But dude, I I do not understand how this. And Amazon's a big company. This is a very popular device. This is the best it can be. And it was rough goes, man. Rough. Yeah, it's updated the like thermostat. The thermostat and the camera are different apps, totally different apps. But you can eventually connect the well, after you finish the setup, you can connect it over to the Alexa Home app or whatever. But dude,
Yeah.
I was just like losing my mind. Like, this is just way too complicated for a human being. So we're cooked. We're cooked, Chad. That's what I want to say. I just we taken technology too far, and it's all beautiful UX. It like, oh, rounded corners. Oh yeah, colors. Yeah, but it's
And then what did you hit?
illustrations.
And then you had
But
errors
it's
after
just so,
error.
yeah, but it's just it like OTP'd me like 5 times, like one time passworded me 5 times, and I'm just like, I understand why you thought you had to do that, but like it's wild, it's just wild. So I just don't think like my mother-in-law or father-in-law or even many members of my family would have been able to like successfully complete the mission. Like, you need a 9-year-old at all times to like handle all your home tech. So it's ridiculous.
I feel you so much.
Everything's good, but it's all worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the amount of hours that it steals away from you. Too
Oh,
many.
yeah. We could go. I could do a whole other podcast right now about kid accounts for apps, like managing kid accounts. But I'll save I'll I'll save you, because it's downright ridiculous what I've gone through to get my kids onto devices. Not even online, just onto devices. So,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the double kid problem almost.
oh yeah, and they all need the same stuff, but they need different stuff. Yeah. Well.
Pain.
All right.
All right,
We should
man.
wrap it
Thanks
up.
for doing
Yeah.
this on vacation. See how
Oh,
dedicated we are, people?
see,
Unbelievable.
for you, we're doing this for you. But really, it's good to talk to my friend Chris. So yeah,
Likewise,
uh,
Dave. I
that
agree. It's important to
doesn't
me.
feel like work. So, all right. Well, thank you, dear listener, for downloading this and your purchase. Chris, you ain't got anything else you'd like to say?
TalkTalkShow.com.